This is AIT's special end-of-year report series.
Nigeria's seasonal rainfall has become both a source of good and pain for many, no thanks to the attendant flooding that follows it. This annual occurrence has resulted in major losses for people in flood-prone areas as communities have been swept away and thousands rendered homeless. In our special end-of-the-year report series, AIT's Onisofian Owe reports on the plight of people living around river bodies in Bayelsa State after the 2020 flood disaster.
Ekbetiama Kingdom in Yenagwa Council area is made up of 7 communities situated along the River Norn and one of the worst hits of perennial flooding. Arriving Tombia, we met Mr. England Keme, a native of the community, with his wife and 5 children. So we're here at the home of Mr. England Keme, one of the victims of the yearly flood disaster here in the Tombia community in Bayelsa State. And a closer look here at the wall is the visible sign of the flood. One wonders how the residents of this home survive every year in this circumstance.
It's not been easy for myself and my family to cope up because the flood is getting into the bedrooms, the parlor, and everywhere. I left this home to another home. That area too submerged. So it's not been easy. We live on the flood.
They swim for the water, they go and buy things them. The deck block them, carry stove, put on top, they cook.
The story of Keme is no different from most residents in the Yenagwa metropolis and several other communities, which have had their own bitter taste of the yearly disaster.
Most of our houses now, because of the constant flood issue, they are being cracked.
Despite the yearly rain forecast and flood warnings by the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, nothing tangible has yet to be done to preempt the inevitable human and material losses that trails each flood season.
They predict the flood and all of that, and then just sit down and the flood comes and cause the devastation, and then sometimes even what is earmarked for ameliorating the fate of the people is not brought, it's stolen.
It's a very painful thing, very painful. I don't know whether anything can be worked out at the federal level in particular.
Effective deployment of resources to control and manage the impact of flooding has also been almost lacking despite government promises.
We want to be able to avoid in the future these kinds of disasters.
On October 19, 2018, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo visited the displaced persons camp in Igbogene, Yenagwa, to empathize with the people as well as assess the devastating effects of flood, while pledging federal government support to providing a lasting solution to the yearly disaster plaguing the Niger Delta state.
We will appeal to Mr. President to immediately come to our aid, particularly in respect of the ecological fund. We need to look for a permanent solution to this annual deluge of flood.
River basin that used to be a deep basin is now a shallow basin, and so it holds very little water, not as much as it used to do. So there has to be a purpose-specific dredging.
For many here, there is a strong feeling of lack of government's concern in their suffering, even as many have been rendered hopeless. Federal, state governments and other spirited individuals might have been providing palliatives to ameliorate the plight of the people in these communities. But the real succor, the people say, is when a lasting solution is provided to avert the yearly disaster.
It is insulting for every year for citizens to anticipate palliatives as the way forward?
The uttermost desire for us now to look for a lasting solution that will prevent this flood from coming.
Their plight has been made worse by the twin problem of the COVID-19 and economic hardship that headlined the year under review. With the rain expected in a few months into 2021, there is heating anxiety among households and communities around river bodies in Bayelsa, who are yet again exposed to what may be another flood disaster if urgent and proactive measures are not taken. Oni Sofin Owe, AIT News, Yenagoa.